it's me, your boy, a weirdo chocolatier with kids in his basement. I fucked up shaving. Actually, I didn't. I'm not even gonna sugarcoat it. It's hot as fuck. I'm in Florida, and it's only gonna get hotter. I forget who sings that country song, but hotter than the 4th of July. That's a thing, and it's coming. So, yeah, it's hot as shit. So, I'm saying this, and it clearly affected the way my face looks, yet I'm wearing a long sleeve. You get so fat that only certain things fit. I understand Kevin Smith now, I'm sorry. Okay, what are we doing today? We're doing 6 movies. I was gonna do recents, but I don't want to talk about any of my recents. So, what are we doing? 6 movies. What are they? We're gonna do 2 that I really liked, thumbs up, 2 that I really hated, thumbs down, and 2 that were just kind of blah, like a side thumb. So that's the format today. So we're gonna start with what I really liked, 2 movies that I really liked and enjoyed that I've watched recently. First one would be Blue Jasmine from 2013. This was on that John Waters list. I don't think I would have sought this out on my own, so thank you, hat tip to John Waters and that list I've been going through. See the video that I did like 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago about it. Yeah, Blue Jasmine, obviously Cate Blanchett won Best Actress, and her performance is really good. Oh, the plot. Okay, so this is basically the Cate Blanchett character is moving from New York. She's kind of a socialite, whatever, a highfalutin woman. Falls on some hard times financially and in life in general, moves to San Francisco with her adopted sister, and kind of takes a step down in life and reflects on everything. Cate Blanchett won Best Actress for this. And she's clearly like the star of this film, but the other performances are really good. Sally Hawkins, who I didn't realize that's like what my type is Sally Hawkins. I like a toothy, like, I like that. She's gonna make me fucking have to watch the movie where she fucks a fish. I'm not watching The Shape of Water. Moonlight and The Shape of Water are they're blacklisted, no pun intended. But yeah, Sally Hawkins is in it. The guy from Homecoming, I don't know his name. He's really good. He's got a very 2013 haircut and wears like the Affliction shirts and shit. Fucking Andrew Dice Clay is in this. At first, I wasn't sold. I was like, oh my god, he's like really fumbling through these lines. But by the end of it, he's pretty good. So yeah, all the performances are good. Cate Blanchett really shines, but all the performances are good. It's a cute little movie. It's a very well balanced, like adult kind of movie. I don't mean adult like sex and stuff, but it's a very adult, like adults going through life, having their relationships, having their friendships, having their highs and lows and hardships. And you don't see a lot of movies like that, or I don't see a lot of movies like that, and I really enjoyed it. It's a very balanced movie. It has very depressing moments, it has very real moments, it has like heightened funny moments. I really liked it. I really enjoyed this movie. It's beautifully shot too. I've seen a million movies that make me want to move to New York. This movie makes me want to move to San Francisco. So the next one I watched that I really liked was The Color of Pomegranates from 1969. I forget the director's name. This is a good exercise in me going outside of my comfort zone. I would have never picked this, or I mean, I guess I did, but I don't know what made me want to see it. On the Criterion channel, I see it, I'm like, okay, this like still is interesting. Let's see what this movie's about. It's a very short movie, which is beneficial in my case, because I have a feeling if this were like a 3-hour movie, I would have never sat through it. But because it is short, I did give it a chance, and I ended up really liking it. It's based on the life of some 18th century Hungarian poet, some Greek-Hungarian, some poet. But that being said, it's not a biopic. I didn't learn anything. I left the movie. There's a big quote from Martin Scorsese saying, "You leave the film he left the film knowing as much about this poet as he did when he came into it." It's not an infographic on Facebook. It's just a very beautifully shot art film. It's a straight up art film, and just the composition in almost every shot in the movie is like breathtaking. So yeah, I really went out of my comfort zone on this one, and it really paid off. I really liked this movie, and I did watch a thing like Color of Pomegranates explained on Criterion channel. I don't care. I think it's a good case of you don't have to be a fucking Reddit detective scholar on everything you like. I liked it. I enjoyed it, so I watched it. I'd watch it again. Fuck you. So next we have the movies that were kind of blah. They're not great, obviously, but they're not horrible. They have some merits. The first one is The Reflecting Skin from 1990. I saw this on some list on Facebook of like underrated horror movies, which is ironic because this wasn't a fucking horror movie and it was not underrated. It was perfectly rated in that I'd never heard of it and I didn't like it. Um, the story is basically a kid in the 50s on like a farm, like where his dad works at a gas station. Anyway, he believes his neighbor's a vampire and he kind of goes from there. And it's kind of, in retrospect, I kind of get it and appreciate it more. It's more of like a memory movie, like not everything in it like literally happened, and you kind of catch that as you're watching it. But if you take it for like literal everything that's going on, you're really not going to enjoy the movie. But it is kind of a la the Tree of Life, where especially the end of the Tree of Life, where it's Sean Penn's ideas and memories of what had happened at that time. It's not like a report on what had happened at that time. So it's basically this kid, he thinks his neighbor's a vampire, his brother falls in love, Viggo Mortensen, a fucking terrible performance by Viggo Mortensen, falls in love with the neighbor who he thinks is a vampire, and he's trying to get him away from her so he doesn't get turned into a vampire himself. Yeah, I guess every movie in the 90s, or there's a certain like section of movies in the 90s that they all look the same and they all look like shit. Like Ransom might as well be Mimic, might as well be whatever. There's 100 movies that I just saw the commercial for on E in 1996, and this just kind of falls into that. And I know this movie tried to ape. There's some Terrence Malick movie I haven't seen. It's Days of Heaven, something Heaven. I don't know. Again, I'm not a fucking Reddit nerd scholar, but there's some movie that he's literally aping shots from that movie, and it's not visually stunning movie at all. It just looks like this panned and scanned ass 90s like flat. Like visually, there's nothing going on, and it's kids. I don't care about kids. Any movie where a kid is the protagonist, you really need to sell me on that if it's going to be interesting. It's just cringeworthy performances. Bad dialogue, bad. I hate any movie where they're just in love. They meet and then 2 minutes later they're in love. I think this is why I had a problem with Breathless. This is why I just watched some Agnes Verda movie Agnes Verda. I don't know. I watched some movie by her, Cleo 9 to 7, whatever it was. Just when you're instantly in love, I fucking hate that. That is one thing I do not like in a film, and this movie has that. And I was describing the film to one of my friends, and she was like, "Is this a kids movie?" And she's kind of right, because it's not in the subject matter, and there's a lot of subject matter that's not for children, but it almost feels like a kids movie just because of the perspective and because of the pacing. And in retrospect, I appreciate the film, and I don't regret watching it or anything, but it wasn't good. The next movie I watched that was kind of blah was Age Out from 2018. I think I actually saw an ad for this like on Instagram or something. It was a very weird way that I came into this movie. But it's basically a kid who's like 18, 19, and he ages out of his foster care, and he's beginning to have to make a life for himself. Is he gonna lead a life of crime? Is he gonna go on the straight and narrow? This movie, I guess Terrence Malick's editor, he edited some of his more recent films like Knight of Cups and other ones. He directed this, and any movie like Trey Edward Schultz was like a DP or some shit on the Korea Life. A lot of these people that work with Terrence Malick, they kind of inherit his eye, and this movie's beautifully shot. It's very incredibly shot. I love the way it's shot. Aside from the aspect ratio, it's like pan and scan and the sides are chopped off. I thought that was a little pretentious. Then there are scenes where it blossoms into full widescreen. I didn't like that, and which is hypocritical because I love it in waves, but whatever, fuck you, it's my channel. Yeah, I didn't like that, and aside from the fact that it's beautifully shot and Caleb Landry Jones shows up and is somehow more of a scumbag than he was in Heaven Knows What, the Safdie brothers movie. Yeah, he's a real scummy piece of shit, and he almost saves the movie because his character shows up and fucking throws a wrench and everything. But the whole trope of this movie of just the adolescent teen or the newly adult teen, male, white, going out in the world, and are they going to stay on the straight and narrow? Are they going to get into more trouble? That's played out. And this story had a kind of a twist on it, but not enough for it to really even be memorable at all, aside from the visuals. There are some stunning visuals in this movie. So for that, I dock major points. I've seen this movie. I've seen the troubled teen trope about 10 times since I've been in the furlough. That Solars Point, that movie I talked about in my one of my reviews. The King is the same thing. Starred Up, a Prayer Before Dawn. We need to talk about Kevin. Is that to an extent? I've seen that 100 times. I think we can retire the troubled adolescent teen or newly adult. I guess 19 is a teen, but we can retire that. There's enough of those. We need different stories at this point. Visually great. It has merits on that level. It's on Amazon Prime, I believe, for free or for your Amazon Prime subscription. So I would suggest watching it just for the Caleb Landry Jones performance, but it was blah. That's why it made it on my blah part of my blah list. Now we finally have the bad movies. These are movies I did not like at all. I'm gonna do two of them. The first one is called Our House. It's from 2018. It's some horror piece of shit where it's this kid, this insanely punchable kid. I don't know the actor's name. Distractingly punchable. I did not like this kid at all from the get-go, from the jump. But this movie, he is some kind of engineer, or science, whatever, and he figures out how to make wireless electricity. What could go wrong? Except, oops, it brings ghosts. Now there's ghosts. There's no, like, the fact that ghosts are real and his dead parents may or may not be communicating with him falls onto him like learning that you get a Hulu subscription free with Spotify. Like it's not like, oh my God, there's an afterlife and my parents are in it and I can still communicate. It's not like that would be a life-changing revelation, but in this movie it's just like, oh, of course. It's fucking dumb. And the pacing is all wrong. You think it would, like, you go back and then every time he turns on the machine, it's going to go further and further, and it's just weird pacing, bad, horrible acting. The plot is full of holes. The ending makes no fucking sense, and it's got terrible CGI. This is why I don't understand people that are just horror movie fans. You have to sit through like 10 of these for any like relatively interesting horror movie. So yeah, not for me. And this is a big reason why you should never just like watch the movies that, I mean, it depends. You never know what's going to come up. But those movies that come up on like the screensaver of Netflix, that's how I saw this. Is I had watched something else, and then this scene from this movie, which it was a good scene. That scene made me want to go ahead and watch the movie sight unseen other than that scene. And I regretted it. It was fucking terrible. And the second movie that I really did not like was Blue from the Three Colors trilogy. This came out in 1993. The Three Colors trilogy has been on my radar forever, for at least 10 years. I love Juliette Binoche, don't know. These things that you type all the time, but you've never like said them out loud. But I love her. She's great. This movie was a waste of her. All she does is fucking stare into space and mope around. It's terrible. I really did not like this movie. The plot is basically her Juliette Binoche's character gets in a car crash with her husband and her daughter. This is the opening scene, so this isn't a spoiler. They get killed. She's okay, so she's kind of picking up the pieces and finding herself moving forward. And I do think that there's a great possibility that Red and White, the other two films in this trilogy, kind of fleshed themselves out a lot better. But this was so bad that I'm never going to watch Red and White. It was just an absolute waste of time. It was such a bad use of music for a movie that's about a composer. It's just these stabs, these large orchestral stabs, like at inappropriate places. There is one scene where she's talking about a piece of music and it's kind of the drums come in as she's saying, and then the drums come in, and that was interesting. But just as far as like soundtrack and score, it didn't work for me at all. And just the whole storyline that the husband was a composer, and maybe this just gets lost on an American audience, but it's like on the news, his funeral is on the news and he's like beloved. I don't think that happens now. I can't name one composer. And I'm not completely fucking uncultured piece of shit listening to like Seven Dust and Trapped or whatever, but I can't name a fucking composer currently living. So that part really lost me. And the fact that the car crash happens in the first scene and you never even really see the husband. So there are no stakes. You're not invested. You don't care about this character at all. You don't care about what she's going through. There's no weight to her grief. So it just falls flat. It really fell flat. I don't understand why people love this movie. And it was kind of reaffirming because I've had the Criterion channel, and I'll be honest, since I've been furloughed, I've been buying. People are selling Criterion movies left, right, and center on eBay for like criminal prices. So I've been buying a lot of Criterion collection movies, and I'm kind of falling under like, do I just like all of these because they're Criterion movies? Am I like just a fucking stan or whatever? But the Three Colors Blue, it showed me I am not a fucking stan. I do not like this film at all. I'm not just acquiescing to every other review online and saying, "Oh yeah, great, real, very good, very good." It's one of the most pretentious movies I've ever seen in my life. It felt like a Kids in the Hall sketch on an art house movie. It was just bad, very, very bad, in my opinion. So that's all I got. 6 recent movies I've seen, and like I said in one of my recent videos, I've been on furlough from my job, so I am demolishing movies right now. I think before the furlough, I would watch about 5 a month. At this pace, I've been watching like 40 a month. So I'm really digging through my watch list. I'm digging through shit that I never would have watched in my life. And I am also going to start trying to dig through your guys' recommendations, because I am terrible at taking recommendations. It's a big fault of mine. I hate it about myself, whether it's music, movies, whatever. So hit up that Instagram at Auteur Deluxe, hit up that Twitter at Auteur Deluxe, and recommend me films. I'll watch them. I mean, it's going to take a while. Like, I'm going to get a steady rolling list and then do videos where I go do those movies. So yeah, Instagram Auteur Deluxe, Twitter Auteur Deluxe, and Letterboxd at Ween, Ween. Thank you. Stay hydrated and wear a fucking mask. Thank you.